room 312. That's where I first met Emma. 7 years old, bald from chemotherapy, sitting cross-legged on her hospital bed like a tiny Buddha. She was drawing with crayons that her mother had arranged in perfect rainbow order on the bedside table. I knocked softly and entered, carrying my stethoscope and clipboard and all the professional competence that medical school had taught me to wear like armor. Hi, Emma. How are you feeling today? She looked up at me with eyes too old for her face. That's a really silly question, she said matter-of-factly. I stopped in my tracks. In 15 years of pediatric practice, no patient had ever called my opening question silly. Certainly not a 7-year-old with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Why is it silly, so? I asked, genuinely curious now. Because, she said, turning back to her drawing, feeling things is different than being things. I feel scared sometimes and sad sometimes, and sometimes I feel happy when Mom brings me ice cream, but I'm still sick. The feeling doesn't change the being. She was drawing a tree. Not the stereotypical child's tree with a round green blob on top of a brown stick. This tree had intricate branches, detailed leaves, and what looked like faces hidden in the bark. That's a beautiful tree, I said, sitting down beside her bed, my clipboard forgotten. It's not beautiful, Emma corrected. Look closer. I leaned in. What I had mistaken for artistic detail was actually devastation. The branches were broken, the leaves were falling, the faces in the bark weren't smiling, they were crying. Why did you draw a dying tree? I asked. Because dying trees are the most honest, she said. They're not pretending to be something they're not. Jesus said, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. I used to think he meant innocence, simplicity, the uncomplicated faith of those who haven't yet learned to doubt. But sitting with Emma that day, I began to understand something different. Something that challenged every assumption I'd made about childhood, faith, and the nature of truth. Children don't see less than adults. They see more. They see what we've trained ourselves to ignore. Over the next 3 months, as Emma underwent treatment that would either save her life or fail to, she became my most profound teacher. Not about medicine. I already knew the protocols, the statistics, the clinical markers of progress. She taught me about seeing. Dr. Giovanni, she said during one of our sessions, why do the grown-ups always say I'm brave? I was examining her port, checking for signs of infection. Because you're fighting a very difficult illness, I replied automatically. But I'm not fighting, she said. Fighting means you have a choice. I'm just having cancer. She was quiet for a moment, then added, I think they call me brave because it makes them feel better. Like if I'm brave enough, maybe they won't have to be scared. 7 years old, and she had diagnosed the psychological defense mechanisms of every adult in her life. Emma's mother, Jennifer, struggled with what she called the positive attitude pressure. Well-meaning friends constantly told her to stay positive and keep fighting and believe in miracles. It's exhausting, Jennifer confessed to me one afternoon while Emma napped. Everyone wants me to be inspirational, to turn this into a story about God's goodness and the power of faith. But some days I just want to scream that my 7-year-old shouldn't have to be anyone's inspiration. She should just get to be 7. I nodded, thinking about Emma's dying tree, about honesty as the highest form of beauty. During her second month of treatment, Emma asked me a question that changed how I practice medicine. Dr. Giovanni, are you afraid of me? Afraid of you. Emma, you're 7 years old. Why would I be afraid of you? Not afraid of me, she clarified. Afraid of what's happening to me. Afraid of what might happen to me. I paused. Every instinct told me to deflect, to reassure, to maintain professional boundaries. Instead, I told her the truth. Yes, I said. Sometimes I am afraid. Good, she said, smiling for the first time in weeks. Now we can be real friends. That conversation taught me something profound about the ministry of presence. We think we serve others by being strong for them, by projecting confidence and control. But Emma showed me that sometimes the most healing thing we can offer is our own humanity. Our own fear, our own questions, our own acknowledgement that we don't have everything figured out. 3 weeks before Christmas, Emma's scans showed something we'd all been hoping for: remission. The cancer that had invaded her small body was retreating. The treatments were working. I expected celebration. Instead, Emma seemed thoughtful, almost melancholy. Are you happy about the good news? I asked. Yes, she said, but also sad. Sad? Why sad? Because now everyone will want me to go back to pretending I'm just a regular kid. But I'm not. I'm a kid who knows things regular kids don't know. What kinds of things? That being alive is really, really hard and really, really beautiful at the same time. And that most grown-ups don't want to know both things at once. Emma taught me that wisdom isn't the opposite of innocence. It's innocence that has learned to see clearly. It's the ability to look at a dying tree and call it honest rather than ugly. To acknowledge fear and still choose friendship. To hold joy and sorrow in the same small hands. 2 years later, Emma is 9 years old and cancer-free. She still draws trees, but now they have both falling leaves and new buds, still dying and being born simultaneously. Still honest? She sends me pictures sometimes, never of herself smiling or playing, though she does both. Instead, she sends me pictures of things that tell the truth. Puddles that reflect sky, old buildings that are beautiful because they're weathered, flowers growing through cracks in concrete. Dr. Giovanni, she wrote in her last letter, I think God likes honest things best, because they are not trying to be something else. Jesus said we must become like children to enter the kingdom, not because children are innocent of suffering, but because they're innocent of the lies we tell ourselves about suffering. They see what is, without the filters of what should be, what we wish were true, what we think we can control. They draw dying trees and call them honest. They admit fear and offer friendship anyway. They hold contradictions without needing to resolve them. Tonight, maybe you're struggling to see clearly. Maybe you're tired of having to be brave, tired of staying positive, tired of pretending that hard things aren't hard. Maybe you need permission to draw your dying tree, to acknowledge what is without having to explain why, to be afraid and faithful simultaneously. Maybe you need to remember that wisdom doesn't require you to have answers. It only requires you to see clearly. Emma would tell you that feeling scared doesn't change the fact that you're loved, that being broken doesn't disqualify you from beauty, that admitting you don't understand doesn't make you less faithful. She would tell you that the kingdom belongs to those who see things as they really are. Not because reality is always beautiful, but because honesty always is. In the silence that follows, listen for the voice of the 7-year-old prophet in room 312. She's still teaching whoever has the courage to learn that sometimes the most profound wisdom comes from the smallest voices. And the kingdom of heaven belongs to those who never stopped seeing clearly.